Caroline Kennedy, a name that means American royalty, shocked the nation. In a move no one saw coming, she spoke out against her own cousin. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., or RFK Jr. as he's known, was under a lot of attention. He was picked for a powerful job, the head of Health and Human Services. But Caroline had something to say about it. She didn't hold back. Caroline wrote a letter that was very critical. It was for the Senate committee that was supposed to approve RFK Jr.'s job. But she didn't stop there. She also went on social media and posted a video on Instagram. This wasn't just family drama, it was a very public airing of grievances. The message was clear: RFK Jr., according to Caroline, wasn't the right person for the job. She called him a predator, someone who twists the truth, lies, and tricks people. These were serious accusations, and they came from someone who had known RFK Jr. her whole life. The timing was important. It came at a time when other Kennedy family members had privately shared their worries about RFK Jr. Now, Caroline speaking out brought those worries into the open. The nation watched as a family known for its closeness seemed to break apart right in front of them. Caroline Kennedy's accusations against RFK Jr. delved into his past. She claimed disturbing behavior, painting a picture of a man who enjoyed cruelty. She described seeing RFK Jr. as a young boy putting baby animals in a blender. She said he was feeding his hawks, but the image was chilling. These accusations, though shocking, weren't entirely unexpected. RFK Jr. already had a reputation for controversial statements and actions. He had questioned the science behind HIV/AIDS. He had spread misinformation about vaccines despite having his own children vaccinated. Beyond his past behavior, Caroline also raised concerns about RFK Jr.'s potential conflicts of interest. She pointed out his ties to law firms actively suing pharmaceutical companies. Would he use his position in the Department of Health and Human Services to benefit these firms? Would he prioritize personal gain over public health? Caroline's letter, obtained by the Washington Post, painted a damning portrait. This wasn't just about policy disagreements. This was about character, about fitness for office. And Caroline Kennedy was drawing a line in the sand. The Kennedy family, despite all their glamour and influence, operated under an unspoken code: loyalty above all else. Public disagreement, especially on matters of this magnitude, was rare. Caroline's actions broke that code. Her decision to speak caused a stir within the family. Some members quietly applauded her bravery, while others worried about the potential damage to the Kennedy legacy. But the political consequences were perhaps even more significant. The Kennedys, despite internal divisions, held considerable influence in Democratic politics. Caroline's condemnation of RFK Jr. threatened to alienate a key constituency within the party. RFK Jr., after all, had a base of support. His anti-establishment rhetoric, coupled with his famous name, resonated with some who felt disillusioned by the political system. Caroline's intervention threw a wrench into the political calculations. To understand the full weight of Caroline Kennedy's accusations, it's important to dig into RFK Jr.'s history. This wasn't a man who shied away from controversy. In fact, he often seemed to look for it. One of the most troubling parts of his past was his stance on vaccines. RFK Jr. was a supporter of the debunked theory linking vaccines to autism. He used his platform to spread fear and misinformation, potentially endangering public health. Beyond vaccines, RFK Jr. had made other controversial statements over the years. He had questioned the science behind climate change. He had voiced support for conspiracy theories about the 9/11 attacks. His actions had also been under scrutiny. He had been accused of sexual assault by a former nanny. While he denied the accusations, they further tarnished his reputation. Caroline Kennedy's accusations, then, didn't come out of nowhere. They fell on fertile ground, adding fuel to the fire of an already controversial figure. Section 5. Unusual Allies. Opposition from Unexpected Corners. Caroline Kennedy's public condemnation of RFK Jr. sent shockwaves through the political landscape. But what made her actions even more striking was the diversity of voices that joined her chorus of criticism. Surprisingly, some of the strongest opposition to RFK Jr. came from those not usually aligned with the Kennedy family's political leanings. Rupert Murdoch, the media mogul known for his conservative views, used his powerful platforms, the Wall Street Journal and the New York Post, to denounce RFK Jr.'s nomination. Even former Vice President Mike Pence, a staunch conservative and anti-abortion advocate, expressed reservations about RFK Jr. Pence, known for his unwavering stance on social issues, found himself questioning RFK Jr.'s inconsistent record on reproductive rights. The fact that figures like Murdoch and Pence found common ground with Caroline Kennedy in their opposition to RFK Jr. spoke volumes. It underscored the gravity of the concerns surrounding his nomination, transcending traditional political divides. Section 6, Financial Fog. Questions surround RFK Jr.'s disclosures. As if the accusations of misconduct in the chorus of opposition weren't enough, RFK Jr.'s nomination faced another hurdle: financial scrutiny. His financial disclosures, documents meant to ensure transparency and accountability, raised more questions than answers. At the center of the issue was RFK Jr.'s nonprofit anti-vaccine organization, Children's Health Defense. Initially, he had reported a relatively modest salary from the organization. However, amended statements revealed a significantly higher figure, more than double his initial report. This discrepancy, while possibly an oversight, raised red flags. It fueled concerns about RFK Jr.'s transparency and potential conflicts of interest. Was he intentionally downplaying his financial ties to an organization that stood to benefit from his position in the Department of Health and Human Services? The financial disclosure controversy added another layer of complexity to RFK Jr.'s already troubled nomination. It cast a shadow of doubt over his integrity and raised questions about his motives. Section 7, A Legacy at Stake. The Kennedy Name and Public Trust. The unfolding saga of RFK Jr.'s nomination and Caroline Kennedy's public condemnation went beyond personal disputes. It struck at the heart of the Kennedy legacy, a name intertwined with American history and ideals. The Kennedys, for generations, had represented a certain idealism, a belief in public service and the common good. Their name evoked images of Camelot, a time of hope and progress. However, RFK Jr.'s actions and the accusations against him threatened to tarnish that legacy. Caroline Kennedy, in her decision to speak out, seemed very aware of what was at stake. She wasn't just defending her family's reputation, she was defending the ideals that name represented. It reminded the nation that public trust, once broken, is hard to repair. RFK Jr.'s nomination became a referendum on the Kennedy legacy, a test of whether the family's commitment to public service could withstand the weight of personal ambition and controversy. Section 8, The Power of Voice. Caroline Kennedy's potential impact. Caroline Kennedy's decision to break ranks and publicly condemn her cousin was a courageous act. It was a gamble, a high-stakes move that could have backfired, further dividing the family and alienating potential allies. But it was also a testament to the power of voice, particularly the voice of someone who had long avoided the spotlight. Caroline, unlike some members of her family, had largely shunned public attention, choosing a life of service outside the realm of elected office. Her decision to speak, then, carried even more weight. It wasn't driven by political ambition or a desire for attention. It was an act of conscience, a moral imperative to protect the integrity of both her family's legacy and the institutions of government. The impact of her actions remained to be seen, but one thing was certain. She had injected a dose of uncertainty into RFK Jr.'s nomination, forcing a reassessment of his fitness for office and the potential costs of overlooking his controversial past. Section 9, An Uncertain Future. The Fate of RFK Jr.'s nomination. As the dust settled from Caroline Kennedy's explosive accusations, the fate of RFK Jr.'s nomination hung by a thread. The Senate committee in charge of reviewing his appointment faced a dilemma. Could they, in good conscience, recommend someone facing such serious accusations and widespread opposition? The political calculation was complex. RFK Jr., despite his flaws, still held some appeal among a segment of the population. He was a Kennedy, after all, and that name still carried weight. But the potential costs of confirming him were significant. His appointment would be seen as a rejection of science, a victory for misinformation and conspiracy theories. It would send a chilling message about the value of truth and integrity in public service. The coming days and weeks would be crucial. Would the Senate prioritize political expediency, or would it heed Caroline Kennedy's warning and choose to protect the integrity of the Department of Health and Human Services and the public trust it was meant to serve?